Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi and here I like to talk about luxury beauty. Today we are going to be doing a foundation comparison. So we're taking a look at the Chanel Sublimage Le Teint foundation and the Clé de Peau The Foundation. And Chanel has just recently expanded the color line for the Sublimage foundation. So they previously had, I believe, 10 shades. Now they have 20 shades. So I wear shade 01 beige, which is equivalent to the BD01 shade. So we're going to talk about each of the foundations. We have a side-by-side comparison test, so you guys can tell me which one you think looks better. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, first off, I want to mention the Clé de Peau The Foundation. So this was just recently reformulated. I already have a video on this foundation, so I'll leave that linked down below in the description box. So if you want to see more detail on this particular foundation, more like wear tests and things like that, definitely check out that video. And what we're looking at here today, we're going to go over the basic information of this, and this is the one that I currently have on my skin right now. So just a little bit about this foundation. It comes in 15 shades. It retails for $270 US. So it's a pretty expensive foundation and we get 1 ounce of product. So let's go ahead and look at how this comes. When you purchase the foundation, you get this little tray. This is plastic. It's meant to look like kind of like plastic marble, but you know, it's very lightweight plastic, you know, kind of more like a bath toy type material. And then you have a little metal spatula to dispense the foundation. This is going to be in a jar, and this is the product. So it's kind of one of those moussey, creamy textures. And we do have an expiration date on the foundation. It's on the jar and it's also on the box when you purchase it, but there is SPF 22. So let's take a look at today's application while we talk a little bit about this foundation. Now, this information is coming directly from Clé de Peau. This is an ultra luxurious weightless foundation infused with skincare ingredients to blur imperfections and reduce the look of fine lines and wrinkles for a radiant finish. And I would have to say all of that is true. We definitely have a radiant finish. It's not overly radiant, it's a healthy radiance. So it looks very nice. It says it lasts up to 24 hours. I did not test it that long, but I have to say every time I've worn this, I've gotten like, 15, 16 hours. It still looks great. So you'll see in the wear test today that the way it looks then after 11 hours is the same way that it looks after 15, 16 hours. So it really holds up well. And according to Clé de Peau, it's a luxuriously rich yet lightweight cream that melts on contact with skin to moisturize, plump, and protect while reducing the appearance of lines and wrinkles and promoting firmness. So I would agree with that texture. It's kind of one of those like whipped mousse like textures. If you're familiar with a whipped moisturizer, it feels a little bit like that. And it really feels like it's sinking into your skin. It feels more like a moisturizer than it feels like makeup. So I feel like a lot of times when you buy makeup that is infused with skincare ingredients, it feels like makeup and like the skincare is just added in, just to say they have it in there. But this feels more like skincare with a little makeup thrown in. The finish is sheer, buildable, and radiant. So I would give this light to medium coverage. And some special ingredients or ingredient complexes that Clé de Peau has in this product is the Light Empowering Enhancer, which we've seen in many Clé de Peau products. This is supposed to allow optimal light diffusion. So it's going to give you that radiant finish without looking like shimmery, sparkly, shiny, greasy, anything like that. We also have the Precious Laxus Complex with Chaihu extract, and that is supposed to improve the appearance of firmness and elasticity, while the ingredients Japanese prickly ash, thyme, and chestnut rose extracts actually maintain that appearance throughout the day. And they do that through increasing moisture retention and the effects of antioxidants included in here. And like many other Clé de Peau products, we have their Blur Perfection technology. Not exactly sure what is in there, but that is going to give you a little bit more of a blurred effect on the skin. And the Skin Empowering Illuminator is powered by Precious Platinum Golden Silk. It enhances skin's ability to defend itself against internal and external stressors. So overall, there's a lot going on in this foundation, but I have to say it is beautiful on the skin. I really like it. Is it worth the $270 price tag? Well, let's see how it compares to the Chanel. The Chanel Sublimage Le Teint foundation is also a pricey foundation. It is $135 US for 1 ounce. So that's like half the price of the Clé de Peau foundation. And this one comes with a brush. So the Chanel foundation comes with this brush here. And I actually did not use this in the demos, but I have tested this out. You can see it's a nice brush, but shape-wise and everything, it is fairly similar to the Jumbo Base from Sonia G. However, that is going to be a little bit more dense. It doesn't have quite as much movement in the bristles here. So I actually prefer using that over the Chanel brush. And then in addition, it comes with this little plastic spatula. You can see it's just a little kind of flimsy piece of plastic, but honestly, that's really all you need to get the product out. So here's the actual foundation, and it's messy. So this is actually one of those plastic lids on here, but mine keeps getting stuck in the top. So this is what the lid looks like. And there's a little lever. If you keep this up, you can't close it. So you have to push it down. This is the concealer, by the way. So same packaging as the concealer, but my lid does keep getting stuck. So I'm going to have to pry that out. I'm probably going to decant some of this into a smaller jar for current use. Now, just something to note, the Clé de Peau foundation is made in the USA, while the Chanel foundation is made in France. Let's talk a little bit more about the Chanel foundation while we look at it on the skin. So this foundation, as I mentioned, it was previously 10 shades. Now there are 20 shades in the line. Again, we have 1 ounce and it's $135 US. According to Chanel, this is an exquisite liquid foundation with the ultimate sensorial touch. The creamy texture offers light to medium coverage for a glowing, healthy, and luminous look. Now, compared to the Clé de Peau, I would say that this is more matte than the Clé de Peau. We also have a creamy, moisturizing type of texture, but it's not as moussey or as airy feeling as the Clé de Peau. This is going to be just a little bit thicker in consistency than the Clé de Peau foundation. Now, some of the key ingredients with the Chanel Sublimage line, this is true for all of the Sublimage products, such as the concealer and many of their skincare products. We have the vanilla planifolia. Now, this is an extract that's taken from a vanilla orchid, and this product, this is actually really hard to harvest. It's mostly done by hand, and what they actually do, this vanilla orchid is a very delicate flower, and it blooms for 24 hours. So as soon as, when it blooms, the flower lasts for 24 hours. So they have 24 hours to hand pollinate those to actually, increase the production and get the production of the vanilla pods. This is one way that we also get vanilla extract that we cook with as well. And what happened was Chanel was actually, isolating the extract for some fragrances, and they came across the oil that is produced from this. They actually ended up, further processing it and extracting it. And they found some active ingredients, and they actually have this ultra pure extract that is 40 times more powerful than the raw ingredients. And it's very soothing to the skin. It's high in antioxidants, and it is supposed to have regenerative, effects on the skin. It has what they call the 5 life factors, which are going to help prevent the signs of aging and help with cell regeneration in the skin. So one of the things that they found while working with this product is that the active molecules are actually only present in the plant while the pod is growing. So once it is mature and it's done, those active molecules go away. So there's actually a very finite window of time that Chanel has to gather and work with these particular ingredients to create these extracts. So it's a very time-intensive, expensive process. They're pretty transparent about it, whereas Clé de Peau, we know their general, ingredient complexes, what they're called, what they're supposed to do, but the process itself, I'm not really sure whether it's as involved as this is or not, but this is definitely a very time-intensive, involved process to get these ingredients. Other things that are included in this foundation are diamond powder. So we have the skincare benefits of the vanilla planifolia with the luster of diamond powder. and also the comfort of other plant-based ingredients. And it's supposed to leave the complexion looking hydrated, radiant, and revitalized. So that's the Chanel Sublimage foundation. You can see between the Chanel and the Clé de Peau, they both have very nice, ingredients. They definitely are boasting a lot of promises and effects to the skin. So let's take a look at these side by side on the skin, and you can tell me which one you think is better. Now, I did put up a poll on Instagram, on my Instagram stories. If you're not following me there, definitely follow me. That's where I post all of the sales. I do post a lot of them to the community tab here on YouTube as well, but I post everything to Instagram stories, and I'll also have like polls and things like this. But in this poll, I asked you to pick which side of the face looked better, the right or the left. And on my right, I had the Clé de Peau foundation, and on my left, I had the Chanel foundation. And these are the results. So surprisingly, the Chanel actually came out the winner. And I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. So when applying these foundations, I would say that the coverage of both of these foundations is comparable. Texture of them, as I mentioned, the Clé de Peau is going to be a little bit airier, a little bit moussier, just feels a little bit lighter weight. It sinks into the skin. But once it does sink in, if you go and touch your skin, it does feel like you have a moisturizer on. You can feel a little bit more moistness in your skin than you do on the Chanel side, whereas the Chanel side dries to a little bit more of a matte finish. Yet it's going to be a radiant matte finish. You definitely don't have any sort of flatness in your skin. So there is going to be some luminosity to that. But again, none of these are going to be overly radiant. The Clé de Peau is definitely more visibly radiant, however, than the Chanel. And again, as I mentioned texturally, the Chanel will feel a little bit drier on the skin, not dry skin, just drier in texture than the Clé de Peau. And overall, I think they both look really nice on the skin. And as you can see in this wear test, after 11 hours since applying the foundations, we have the Clé de Peau foundation on my right, the Chanel on my left. Let's move in. Let me know which one you think looks better. Overall, texturally, they both have sunken into the skin. However, I can feel that there's a little bit more moisture on the side with the Clé de Peau compared to the Chanel. However, both of them are comfortable, and yeah, this is it. They both held up really well. So on my skin, after applying the foundation, I do have the Gucci bronzer and an Hermes blush on, but I did not put any powder or any other products on the skin. So this is the foundations and how they've performed on their own. And I really think they did a great job, and they both hold up pretty much about the same time. Now, as I mentioned, Clé de Peau does claim to have 24-hour effects. I have not tested 24 hours, but every time I've worn the Chanel and the Clé de Peau for very long periods of time, they both seem to perform equally. So if you have a very long day, I don't think you're going to see a significant difference between the performance of either of these foundations. And it really comes down to which product you think looks better on the skin, or if you have drier skin, I think the Clé de Peau, because it does feel a little bit more rich in moisture, that might be slightly better. But overall, I think these foundations are really well matched. Now, my personal preference, I do actually prefer the Clé de Peau just slightly to the Chanel, just because I think it just adds a little bit more luminosity to the skin. And right now, as we are entering winter, my skin's a little bit drier. I do like that added moisture. However, I love both of them. And for the price point, I would have to say the Chanel is a better value. So obviously it's a better value based on the price. But what I'm saying here is that if you take everything into account, all of the factors and effects that you get with both of these foundations, I think this Chanel is pretty comparable to the Clé de Peau. And I think, regardless of the price, they're pretty well matched. So then once you take the price into account, it's definitely a much better deal financially. So I would love to know what you think about these two foundations down below. I have to say I do really like both of them, and I do plan on using up both of these jars. So I am actually going to be holding off on purchasing new foundations for a little while I use up some of these. And yeah, you know, would I purchase these again? I would love to purchase both of these again. However, after comparing these side by side, I will definitely use up my Clé de Peau, but most likely, unless I could get this on a good sale price, I'll probably stick with the Chanel. I would love to know your thoughts on these foundations, and if you've tried one or the other or both of them, please let me know what your thoughts are and let me know which one you think looked better on the skin. So please sound off down below in the comments, and I will see you very soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with anyone you think this might help. Have a great day, and thank you so much for watching.